In my opinion, group projects are one of the worst things of a project. Or it at least depends. A lot of projects that I've gotten that allowed being with a partner or individual, I'm most likely the only person that takes it solo. Like, wow, people these days are never alone, are they? Usually, the people that I get paired up with are mostly the least productive ones. I'm guessing whenever the teachers are choosing groups, I always get grouped in with the most annoying and non-cooperative people. It's sickening. Which makes me have to do all, if not most, of the work. I mean, I know that individual projects are easier, but come on, work with me here. Sometimes when a project has to be in a group, the teacher always puts me into a group that are just friends. Well, I guess I can't blame people who would want to work with their friends, but it is such a distraction. When I'm in the circle with the rest of my team members, I'm probably the only one on my computer looking at the criteria, creating the presentation and information. Well, what does the rest of my team do? Just doing nothing, talking to each other on their phones, and sometimes they might not even be with me. Often, I've dealt with people basically leaving the table to talk to their other friends. Goes to show how being a valuable contender does nothing to the outside world. What also sucks is that it's considered an equal effort. So if there was one person who was the only person that contributed to the presentation, everyone would get the mark evenly, which is so unfair. How are you able to properly assess someone if it's a group project? Thus, it obviously was an equal amount of work for everyone. Duh. But you know what? I've actually been on both sides of the situation. The people that actually work and the people that don't. Trust me, I'm not working intentionally. This is just what happens when you're with the people who are actually productive. When I'm grouped with people like that, it's great because I don't have to do at least more than half of it. But at the same time, I feel like I'm not contributing enough. Because I'm normally the person that does more than needed because the rest would rather rest. So when I feel like I've done the littlest amount of work, it makes me feel like an underdog. I don't know how people play this role without shame. But that's enough of the general topic. I want to get into certain group projects that I've gone through. In socials, we had to do a group essay. Yes, it is just as boring as it sounds. Basically, you'd have to create an essay based on women's roles in World War II. Honestly, making the essay wasn't too bad. We had straightforward sources and articles, and a lot of time was spent on writing notes based on what we've read. No one in my group really spent the entire class reading the articles that were split evenly, but overall the teacher was satisfied with our notes. If the teacher approves, then I approve. But then came the part where the lack of contribution really started to kick in. There was an organizer for the essay, so everyone had an easy method to be able to transport all the data and information needed without changing the topic too frequently. You thought that everything would go fine? You'd be wrong. A few of my team members didn't even show up to class for most of the time, so I had to cover for them and complete writing their parts. I mean, if no one else is gonna do it, it's gonna be me. What I found really frustrating about this whole project was that one of my team members, one of them that barely showed up to class, said, "I absolutely hated doing this project. I hope we never have to write full essays again." And I'm like, are you serious? I had to do your part, and you barely did anything. I did probably 2, even 3 times more work than you did to this entire project, and you're the one that's complaining? Could you believe that? I had to cover for 2 people's parts because they didn't show up, and I was the one practically leading this whole group. You have no right to complain. We ended up getting a good mark on it, so I'm gratified. Anyway, another group project that I had was a PE group project. Yep, a PE group project. I had to do this every year, and I hated it, especially the first time, because my group members were full of dudes. So here's something to always remember. If you're trying to choose which group members are worth the time, never, ever be in a group of all guys. They will never do anything. It's the truth. But back to the PE project. We had a dance unit where we had to practice all kinds of dancing. Line dancing, square dancing, partner dancing, you name it. Basically, we had to perform our own little dance recital based on the dance moves that we've learned. You just have to mesh it all into one unique dance. If you're in a group of all guys who don't care or like a thing about this unit, you're screwed. The whole time, I've just sat in the background listening to my group members arguing about what dance moves we should do in order instead. It was an absolute struggle. But I'm so glad that that's over with. The next few times I had to do this project again, it was a lot easier, because most of my group members were girls. They were certainly a lot better to work with. However, the group of girls wanted to balance genders a bit more, because I was the only male in the group, so they invited one of the guys to our team, and he was not cooperating at all. I remember him saying something to me along the lines of, "Ethan, they're trying to make us gay by making us partner dance together." Why are guys like this? My overall opinion on group projects, they are mostly unnecessary. You'd think that it'd be better because it could help people to work cooperatively, but most people just partner up with their friends and get distracted. Individual projects are certainly better, because not only are they a lot easier to manage on your own, but they are also good for teachers to see one's own skills and development. I will always do projects on my own, and honestly, that just shows that I can depend on my own strength without having to rely on someone else. If you can manage huge projects on your own, you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet.